Hi, everyone. Today's guest on our podcast is Nicole Smith. She is currently the executive director of the Association of Leaders in Volunteer Engagement, also known as ALIVE. In this episode, Nicole shares her insights for aspiring young entrepreneurs, reflecting on her journey so far and the core strengths that showed up in different areas of her life. She talks about the importance of answering your own calling, showing up daily for your passion, and learning how to handle rejection, setbacks, and failure. We also discussed the value of honest self-assessment and how feedback can be the difference between growing and quitting. I learned so much from this conversation, and I hope you take away something valuable. This conversation is presented in two parts, so be sure to watch both. And finally, I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're enjoying the show, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, share with your friends, and leave a rating. It really helps other teens find the show too. Thank you. I'm so excited to introduce Nicole R. Smith, an inspiring leader, author, and speaker. She has proven that persistence and self-belief can change everything and is a mindset that became the foundation for one of her books, Game On, Relentlessly Pursue Your Dreams. Outside of her book, Nicole has built a career focused on helping others do the same. She's the founder of Step It Up Inc., a nonprofit organization that uses dance to teach teamwork and leadership skills to young people. She's also an expert in workforce development and volunteer engagement, having trained and coached leaders on how to create culture within the workforce. Currently, she is the executive director of the Association of Leaders in Volunteering Engagement, also known as ALIVE. Nicole, thank you so much for joining me today. I cannot wait to dive into your story, to learn more about your journey, the lessons behind Game On, and your advice for young leaders and entrepreneurs who are currently listening to this podcast. Shall we get
I love
started?
it. Yes, let's do it. Let's do it.
So, Nicole, you describe yourself as a Panamanian American. Could you tell us about your upbringing and how your identity played a role in your early ambitions?
Of course. So, yes, I am a proud Panamanian American. My both of my parents um were immigrants from Panama. I was born stateside, but the first the my formative years I lived in Panama before
Yeah.
coming back over to the States.
Hmm.
My dad was in the military as well, so we moved like every 3 years. We
Yeah.
were always moving, moving, moving. So, um, it was interesting because being Latino and Black is it's a very different culture. And
Right.
so when my dad retired from the military and he went into what we call civilian life, it was the first time that I was around other kids who were not in the military who didn't understand, or yeah, and they didn't understand like the moving every 3 years and just and the
Yeah.
melding cultures, because that was just normal. So coming into this, when my dad retired and we were going to, now I'm going to school with kids who have known each other since kindergarten, and like I was going into the seventh grade. They've known each other since kindergarten, so they've had friendship, an eye-opening experience. Um, but I love my culture. It's shaped me. It's kept me through all of the years. And I remember a couple of years ago, I talked to my mom and I was just like, Mom, I was in a conference room with a group of colleagues, and I was kind of had the opportunity to explain basically like the differences in my upbringing and how it was different. And I was like, that's never happened before. Like it was just, I told my mom, she was like, what? And I'm like, I know, right?
I understand and I see where you're coming from on the whole like from every single time you move, you have to adapt, you got to make new friends,
Yep.
and you kind of feel like an outsider. So I
Yeah.
completely see where you're coming from on that.
Yeah.
Um, you also note that you earned your bachelor's degree via a Division I full ride track scholarship. So
Yeah.
firstly, what was that experience like for you?
It was amazing. Uh, so I when I first went to school, I went on a partial scholarship because they didn't
Right.
have full scholarships available. So I went on a partial scholarship, and then my mom was able to get some other scholarship money, and we were able to like to uh supplement.
Mhm.
So, but then the remaining years, I worked hard and proved myself and proved that I was an asset to the team, and I earned like full scholarship for the from the remainder of my
That's
time there.
impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of hard work. But I looked at it this way, right? Um, because like school debt is like bananas, right?
Right.
And so I was like, well, I'm going to have to either work really hard in school to try to find an academic scholarship, or I'm going to have to literally go to work to pay for it, or I can work really hard on the track and they pay
Mhm.
me to go to school. And I'm like, option three, right? So, either way, there's work involved. It's just, I looked at it at the benefit of, well, if I'm going to work this hard, I'm going to get them to pay me for it. And
Yeah.
it was definitely an eye-opening experience. It was a lot of fun. The school that I was at, they went Division 1 while I was there.
Wow.
I think we were a Division 2 school before, but
Wow.
when I was there, we went Division 1. And so it was awesome because like the first ever letter jackets, and I still have my jacket. We didn't plan this. It just happened to be there. So I have my first ever, they were the first letter jackets to be given out. Um, and we got to go to like to be able to try to qualify for the NCAA qualifiers because we were now in a division, and it was just a really really great time to go and have that experience. And I it's formed me for the rest of my life.
Would you say, from your time as a professional athlete, do you have any lessons from being an athlete that you've carried into your professional life or even like right now?
Oh yeah. The whole like giving up, like you just can't give up, especially when it gets hard or if you lose, right? Being able to pick yourself back up and know that it was like, what can I learn from this loss and how can I be better next time around? Um, Being persistent, being resilient, understanding being a team member. And at the end of the day, it's not all about just how I feel and what and how I'm doing, but my performance also affects the rest of my team,
Right.
especially if we're doing a relay. And if we want to go and we want to qualify for regionals,
Hmm.
perhaps I shouldn't eat that big old stack of pancakes, that morning for breakfast, and I'm a little bit slower because it's not just about me, like what I do. It really opened up my eyes as to not only just like track, but just like playing team sports in general. It just really opened my eyes that what I do not only affects me, but it affects other people. And so I can't live so selfishly that it's like all about me all the time because even though, yes, I can make decisions and it affects me, it affects other people regardless if I want it to or not, and if I do it intentionally or not. So it just was it gave me that understanding of, as I'm making decisions, how not only will it affect me, but how will it affect others around me?
Yeah.
And do I want to move forward with that?
You realize that you're being dependent on others and you can't really have your own like be selfless or be like free spirited because others are depending on you like you're depending on them. So the
Exactly.
relationship goes both ways, I see.
Exactly. Yeah.
What was the moment or a decision when you said, this is what I'm going to build around?
So, it's funny that you should ask that because I am currently, like you mentioned at the beginning, I'm the executive director for the Association of Leaders in Volunteer Engagement. I am passionate about supporting and advocating for people who lead volunteer
Right.
managers. And if you would have asked me what I was going to be doing with my life like 10, 15, 20 years ago, this was not it. Okay, this was not it. Um, as you mentioned earlier, I had started a nonprofit dance organization, and we would travel and perform, and then I would also go to uh like after school programs, and I would teach dance to kids and after school programs, and built out a whole program behind it. And that just like it my passion, that was my heart, that was my, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Um, it didn't pan out just because of some life things that happened. And I, because my in my early career I was in the radio business, so the business side of radio. So I was doing a lot of media. And again, my moving continued to happen. I was in three different major markets, working for radio stations, which was amazing, and I loved it. And then an opportunity opened up at a nonprofit organization in the marketing department, and that was close to my degree. And so I
Mhm.
took it because I wanted something different. And I ended up in the marketing department at this organization. And then the position for volunteer engagement managers came available. And I was like, yeah, cool, sure, let me try. I can do that. I'm organized, I can manage
Yeah.
people, whatever. Um, and I applied for it and I got the job. And about a year into it, I was like, what did I get myself into? But the more and more I did it, I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is my calling. And it's so funny because I literally was on a webinar today and we were talking about, is it a job, is it a career, is it a calling? And this is absolutely a calling. It's where I thrive. It's where I am fueled and passionate, and just like I could do it all day. And like if I won the lottery tomorrow, I would still show up and do this work in
Yeah.
addition to my dancing, because it is just so intricately threaded within my being that I couldn't imagine doing anything else. And the funny thing is even though um one aspect of it was dance, and now I'm in volunteer engagement, the core of it is still the same. The core is still encouraging people, encouraging them not to give up, encouraging them that when it gets hard, you can still do it, and inspiring people to continue going forth. So at the core of who I am, that still changed. It just manifested differently.
Oh,
Um, and so that's when I was just like, this is what I want to do. Because as you know, like you were talking about my book earlier, I wanted to become a professional cheerleader like nobody's business. And I was trying and trying and trying and trying and trying. And I kept getting rejected. But in my rejection, along with like 150 other girls walking out, I would see how crushed some of them would get, to the point where they would give up on their dream. And they don't give you feedback. That's a whole nother thing. They don't tell you why. They're just like,
mm,
sorry, we're just not going on to the next round. And I'm like, because one person told you that you weren't right for the team this year, you're going to give up your dream. I was like, no. I was like, try out for another team or try
yeah.
out again, like, and so I was like, I want to motivate and inspire people. I want to motivate and inspire people. And so that's kind of, I've just figured out different ways to do it, either through the volunteer engagement profession or through dance.
I learned a lot about just like the real workforce in general that, oh, you're not always given feedback immediately. Like you don't know what you're in for. You don't know if you're the person that's going to be assessing you that day is going to be in a really upbeat mood, or if they're in like they've had a really, really hard morning and then their day is in
Yes,
the afternoon. They're like, I want this day to
yes,
be over. You don't know what you're like
yes,
walking in for.
yes, yes, yes. Let me tell you. I mean, I feel like you were on my auditions with me. Like, it's true. Like, people they just may have worn the wrong color, and subconsciously somebody doesn't like blue.
Right. Like it's an unwritten rule, I guess, but you don't really know it's an unwritten rule at the same time.
Exactly. And the thing about it, what it taught me to do was learn how to um self-assess,
Hmm.
right? Because like I said, you would go through the auditions, and you're right. Like there's some times where you can ask and get feedback. There's a lot of times in life you are not going to get it. So what it taught me was, okay, let me look at myself and do an honest assessment. Don't be critical, like I doing honest critique, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, well maybe I can improve a little bit there. Maybe my high kicks can be a little bit higher. Maybe there are more medium kicks instead of high kicks. Um, maybe, I can find a different way to do my hair. Like, so through every rejection, my auditions got better and better and better. Because I was like, okay, well, next time I'm going to work on this, and next time I'm going to work on this. And the crazy thing about the audition field, though, it's just so bananas, is it's just it is just really about timing and what they're needing. So yes, there's a lot of it is talent, right? You have to come in like at a base level, but guess what? 90% of the people there are talented. So okay. So is it personality? It could just be this year we only have budget for 15 and somebody had to get cut,
Yeah.
right?
Like, what's
Like,
the 10%? You don't know what that is.
right. Like, and literally it'd be like, well, we have because on the teams they want everybody to be they want it to be as like inclusive as possible. It's like so they're trying to really mix it up and have a really good mix on the team. And so I never tell you that. And sometimes they don't know until they have the group in front of you. So knowing all of those things and then to see people be crushed and not go back for their to try out was just like, no, like what are you talking about? Like, no, 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 no. You can't let that one no tell you. And it
Right.
really helped me learn how to self um constructively assess and constructively criticize what I'm doing so that I can get better and better and better. So by the time I was getting, at one point, I was like, okay, my auditions are on point. I'm hitting things. I know, like, I'm walking in there confidently. And I
Yep.
know if I go in there and I give my best and I don't make the team, then cool, that just means it wasn't for me. But it's not necessarily a reflection on me and that I wasn't prepared. But also don't go in there and not prepare and then talk about, oh, they didn't. Well, no, like don't go in there looking crazy and not practicing because they're going to be able to tell that. You know what I
Right.
mean? So operate in excellence and then let life put you where it needs to be, but don't not show up outside of excellence and cut off your chances before you even start.
Mhm. Yeah. When you did finally get that offer to join the team, um, how did that change your mindset?
Well, it's really funny because the first time I made a team, I was just like, I had been rejected so many times at that point
Mhm.
that when they did call my number, before I got excited, I went up to the lady and I was like, I just want to make sure. Did you call? Because there was a 7 and there was a 77. And then I was like, before I get excited, did you call
Yeah,
me?
you just want to make sure, like,
Just want to make sure. And she was like, yes. And I was like, oh my God. Um, that solidified the keep trying, keep going. Um, in that particular world, maybe it wasn't the right team, it wasn't the right time, it wasn't whatever, but translating into the regular world, as I'm looking for a job and trying to, applying for jobs and I don't get the job, right? Well, maybe it's not the right time. Maybe it's not this. Do I tweak the resume? Do I look at it differently? Who do I connect with? Do I go and get a coach?
right.
Right. That was another thing that I did. Like when I didn't make a team, I would go and like I would take classes. I would get a coach with somebody who has been experienced to help coach me to where I need to be to help me build that confidence. Right. So it it was like, okay, don't give up because sometimes right when you're about to give up, right around the corner. The next time you try is the one that works. I actually wasn't even going to go to the audition. I wasn't even going to go to the audition because I had been rejected so many times. I'm like, I don't want to do this
Um,
anymore. And I was working at the radio station and my friend was like, just go, like, just go. And I was
just
like,
pull up. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Just pull up. And I was like, all right, I guess.
Mhm.
And now, because of it, it's inspired my book, it's inspired all of these other things. And showing up is huge. Just
Mhm.
showing up is huge.
Yeah. Showing up is the biggest thing anyone could do.
Because you know what? Often and they'll tell you like when you go and you audition for these teams, like 400 people will register, and on the day of,
Yeah.
half of them freak out and never and don't even show up. So sometimes showing up is half the battle. You're already a huge step ahead of others that didn't even show up.
Yeah. You have this willingness to take that step forward, which is
Yep.
remarkable.
Yep.
For a young leader, how or what would you recommend we interpreting failure versus feedback versus stopping? Like, what would be some tips to, I guess, categorize the three and like how can we incorporate that?
Failure is just literally learning. And there is nothing wrong with failure. Everybody, it is a part of life that at one point you are going to fail at something. Um, if you don't learn from it and improve the next time, that's when it becomes a problem. But you it's also proof that you tried something. And the fact that you tried, you learned something, and it's just going to propel you, and you are further along than you were before you tried. So I is something I would tell my daughter all the time. I was like, you're going to fail. It's inevitable. And it is a part of life. It's what you do. It's that whole, when you get knocked down, it's not getting knocked down, it's staying down. That's the problem, right? Get
Right.
back up, learn, and then not to be all violent, but like if somebody comes up, with another like left hook, this time you know to duck or move,
Yeah.
right? You learn. And so do not be afraid of failure. People being afraid of failure has stopped so many people in their tracks. And so one of the things that I've learned and I've heard from several different places, like, do it afraid. Like, oh, okay, I'm afraid this happened. Cool, do it anyway. See what happens. Now, use common sense. I say calculated risk, because don't be like calculated risk. Take in consideration what are the positive, what are the negatives, what could happen, what might go wrong. How do you plan for if something does go wrong? How do you do it? And then like move forward. You will not go anywhere in life if you do not try and fail. You just don't. Failing is the action. It doesn't define who you are. The only thing that defines who you are is if you just give up and you stop trying. Well, then that's failure because you just didn't continue to keep going.
Hmm.
Now, difference between that and is quitting is an intentional thing, and it's something that there's like healthy quitting and there's unhealthy quitting, right? Unhealthy is like, oh, it's just too hard. I'm just gonna stop. I'm not gonna do it anymore. No. Quitting is, for example, when I started out in school, I was pre-med because I loved biology and science. But like, yeah, biology, science, all that kind of stuff. But the other sciences didn't like me. So, physics and all that, because there was a lot of math involved, and I hate numbers, right? So I realized that when my first semester in college, I was like,
What is going on here? Yeah.
this isn't going to work because I am doing everything that I can. I am trying, I am studying, I am doing everything that I know to do, and it's just not working. My brain is just not catching it. And I'm putting in all these hours, and I was like, maybe this just isn't what I'm supposed to do.
Mhm.
And so I was like, assessment and talking to counselors, and you're like, and they were like, well, what is it that comes easy to you? Like, what do you like? And when I say come easy, I don't mean like, I don't have to put any effort. What comes naturally to you? Where do you thrive? And I was like, well, I loved English. I did really, really well in English. My college professor was like, you should become an English teacher. And I was like, I will do no such thing. But turns out down the road, I ended up writing a book. I end up writing blogs. So that was part of who I was and what I excelled, what came naturally. And just
Yeah.
because it comes naturally doesn't mean you don't work at it. You still have to work at it. You could
Mhm.
be a natural dancer. That's great, but that's talent. But that work is going to refine it and take it to excellence, right? And so quitting is that would be an example of quitting. Like I assessed everything. This isn't working. Da 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 da. Okay, this isn't the right thing for me. I'm gonna go. But it wasn't because I tried and failed and like, oh no, that was it. So there's a very fine line, but it definitely has to happen. And I think what can help determine that fine line is the feedback that you get.
Hmm.
If you keep trying and you keep trying and you get that feedback and there's like, no, I see this in you, you've got this, da 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 da, great. And that's kind of where, like, talking to the counselor, sitting back and getting that feedback of like, well, maybe it's not, because I'm watching everything that you're doing, and maybe this isn't the right course for you. But sometimes it takes somebody from the outside who does not have a stake in it to tell you. And I'm going to tell you right now. And first of all, I'm not telling you to not listen to your parents. Listen to your parents, because they have the greatest stake and interest in you. So listen to them. Um, Often, though, because out of the love that we have for our kids, like we'll be like, oh my God, no, don't do that, because like we'll pull up all these like calculated risks and all this kind of stuff. And sometimes we're just too close to the situation, right? It's why surgeons cannot operate on their family members. They're too close to it.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's finding a trusted third party that can affirm what your parents say, right? Or spark another conversation. But who are the group of people around you? Group of adults that you can really confide in and trust and know that they will give you actual, real feedback. Right? Are they going to tell you, you know, you shouldn't quit? You're just super lazy. And if you were to actually put a little work in, you would be so much further along than you could be right
Yeah.
now. Or you're putting in all the work. Maybe this, if it's not naturally coming to you, maybe this isn't it. Let's explore, right? And so I think the feedback is the key that can really determine the difference between failing and quitting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes such a big difference, because we've hit our head against the wall. We've learned, and most adults are going to be really excited to help you. Be like, hey, I don't want you to have to go through everything I went through. Not that you shouldn't go through stuff, because that's what builds character, but there's some things you don't need to go through.